Hi, you are on the channel A Brief Retelling, and today I will tell you about the film Powder. Enjoy watching. A pregnant woman who had just been struck by lightning was brought to the hospital. Unfortunately, only the child was saved, and he was born an albino. The father asked to see the newborn, who was placed in an incubator. The device measuring brainwaves shows too high activity. "This is not my son," the man said, and began to cry. Some time has passed. The strange child was raised by his grandparents, but they passed away. It turned out that his relatives kept him in the basement. Sheriff Barnum invited child psychologist Jesse Caldwell here. Neighbors say that the guy is mentally retarded, and generally some kind of abnormal. Perhaps the old people did not hide him for nothing. The sheriff and the psychologist went down to the basement. The guy was sitting in the dark and said in a calm voice that his name was Powder. Finally, the guy showed up. "Jeremy Reed, that's really the name of the powder. The sheriff couldn't take his eyes off such an unusual person. Jeremy says that he can stay outside while the sun is not very high. He has a painful sensitivity to light. It happens that dark glasses do not help either. Powder never went to school, although he loves to read. He has a phenomenal memory." The guy asked Jesse to name any page in the book and from memory told exactly what was written there. He knows by heart all the books that are in his considerable library. Powder, wearing dark glasses and an old grandfather's suit, left the basement. When he was passing near the police cars, the sirens suddenly turned on. Only now the sheriff noticed that the roof of the house was studded with lightning rods. And the assistant also said that the body of the deceased grandfather was saturated with electricity, as if he was undergoing fibrillation. Jesse brought the powder to the small town of Witten. She works at a boarding school for boys and is going to leave him here. The unusual young man immediately attracted the attention of the guys playing football. Jesse tells the board that Jeremy is behaving like an ignorant child who doesn't know anything about this world yet. In the dining room, Jeremy eats separately from the others. Of course, local hooligans could not ignore him either. They sat down with him and asked why he looked like a vampire. Jeremy tried to ignore their leader John, but he took his food and said that all the newcomers were being tested. Namely, they should keep a spoon on the tip of their nose, like Mitch, or in their ass. Powder took a spoon, rubbed it, and left it standing on the table. The rest of the cutlery was immediately magnetized to it. Everyone in the dining room froze in place. Then another spoon appeared and, dancing, jumped to the others, destroying the entire structure. Powder smiled, but John looked at him with an unkind look. The sheriff has a difficult relationship with his son, and his wife Emma is terminally ill and suffers from severe pain. The doctor examined Jeremy and declared that he was absolutely healthy. Soon, special lenses will be brought to him to protect his eyes from bright light. Jesse suggested that the young man go to a local school, and he agreed. By the first day of school, Jeremy got his lenses. When he got off the bus, he immediately gathered the surprised looks of all the students who were in the schoolyard. Physics is taught by the eccentric teacher Donald Ripley. He rolled out a device called Jacob's Ladder. It was invented to demonstrate electric current. Electric arcs that occur one after another cause discomfort to the powder. He is shaking all over, and metal objects around him jump and deform. Suddenly, electricity began to flow through Jeremy and back again. The guy was lifted into the air, and he levitated until Donald smashed the device. The teacher touched the boy, and an electric current passed through his body. Reporters have gathered at the hospital where Jeremy was admitted, but the sheriff won't let them in. Donald is also trying to get into the ward. The doctor reported that Jeremy had no signs of electric shock. He feels great, although a hefty hole was burned on the sweater. The teacher concluded that Jeremy is an electrical conductor, so his hair does not grow. Meanwhile, unnoticed by anyone, the powder escaped from the hospital. The dude wandered down the street until his classmate Lindsay's dog started barking at him. She is surprised that the guy recovered so quickly. Lindsay noticed that Jeremy had a beautiful eye color, but he immediately removed the lens, which confused the girl a little. All the neighbors are staring at the powder. He admits that he can listen to people from the inside, all their thoughts and memories, but Lindsay didn't take his words seriously. Jeremy walked back to his house, but the sheriff blocked his way. The guy feels that the deputy sheriff is afraid of him. He says he doesn't want to go back to boarding school, and Jeremy can't be in the hospital anymore. His worst memory is connected with this place, his birth. A professor came to the boarding school from the Ministry of Education. The fact is that Jeremy passed the IQ test with a phenomenal result. Interestingly, he got all the knowledge from books. He can't watch TV because all the equipment next to him is going crazy, and he himself is getting sick. Tests have shown that Jeremy has the highest level of development in the history of mankind. But the guy doesn't care. The only thing he wants is to go back to the farm. And he also knows that the professor actually thinks he's a fraud and came here just to prove it. Jeremy got angry, and all the equipment around went out of order. The children from the boarding school went on a hike under the supervision of the sheriff and his assistant. Powder didn't want to go. A thunderstorm is approaching, and he feels it with his whole body. Lightning killed his mother. He personally remembers how it happened. In the forest, all the lizards in the area came running to Jeremy. He also felt Mitch and John coming up behind him. The latter had a rifle in his hands, and he pointed it at Jeremy. But suddenly, a shot was heard. A deputy sheriff shot a deer and is very happy about it. The animal dies in agony. Jeremy touched the deer and grabbed the hunter's arm. He made the killer feel what his victim is feeling right now. The man fell to the ground and screamed in pain. Jeremy only let him go when John nearly shot him. The powder also passed through this pain and suffering. Jeremy tells the sheriff and the psychologist that he did not attack the hunter. He just helped him to see clearly and realize what he was doing. And he doesn't want to see anyone else. Even Jesse is only pretending to be his friend. The guy trashed the office with his mind. All he wants is to go home. The doctor suggests that the sheriff put his wife back in the hospital. She torments both herself and him. But while Emma could talk, she asked to be left at home. She's hopeless, but Barnum can't let her go. Frustrated, Jeremy was sitting alone in the dining room in the evening when a physicist approached him. Donald is passionate about an unusual student. Apparently, it consists almost entirely of energy. It seems that a little more, and he just won't need his body, and his mind is at a level of development from which people are separated by millennia. He's like a messenger from the future. Donald offered to be his friend and extended his hand to Jeremy. At the same time, he decided to show the teacher a trick and electrified him. But Grandma and Grandpa were always afraid to touch him. The deputy sheriff has changed a lot. He removed all the guns from the house and refused to participate in the shooting contest. He even stopped carrying guns at work. The man admits that when Jeremy touched his hand, he felt wild fear and pain. It was as if he was dying with the deer. Since then, he can no longer hunt. At night, the sheriff came to Jeremy and asked him to go to his house. Barnum wanted to know what his wife Emma was thinking and feeling. Jeremy conveys her thoughts. A woman will not be able to die peacefully until she finds out that her husband and son have reconciled. Emma believes that Jeremy is an angel who has come to take her away. The woman asks that her old silver ring be put on her finger. She even regained consciousness for a while. Meanwhile, the restless nurse called the sheriff's son to come here as soon as possible. His father came out to him and hugged his son tightly. Finally, Emma was able to safely go to heaven. Jeremy came to the city fair. As usual, everyone is staring at him. Powder read the thoughts of the townspeople. They think he just killed Emma. He tells Lindsay that all people think they live apart from everything, but each of them is a part of this world. Everything is connected. Jeremy touched Lindsay and let her feel his heartbeat, read his thoughts, and plunge into his memories. His father thought that Jeremy was ugly and always denied that he was his son. But according to Lindsay, he has the most beautiful face in the world. The girl kissed Jeremy, but they were interrupted by her father and attacked the guy. Jesse managed to intervene before the man did something to him. Powder felt like the loneliest person in the world again. He's not going to stay at the boarding school anymore, so he packed up and was about to go to the farm, but decided to go to the gym and look at the most ordinary guys again. There he stared at Sky in the shower, at his mane and hairy armpits. For this, John began to mock the young man and took his hat. And then Jeremy uttered the words that his drunken stepfather had said to John. He beat John all his childhood. That's why he grew up so angry. The big guy got angry and pressed the powder against the wall. Suddenly, there were thunderclaps. The scoundrel, seeing that Jeremy was scared, pulled him out into the street with his friends. Only Mitch tries to stand up for the powder, but John is not going to stop. Having stripped the poor man naked, he began to mock his absolute whiteness. "He needs to be decorated," John laughed and kicked Jeremy into a dirty puddle. Then 2 men picked him up. Lightning flashed above them. The powder began to attract all the metal objects that the hooligans were wearing, and Jeremy seemed to explode with energy, which scattered everyone around. The guys somehow got to their feet, and John's heart stopped. Powder approached him and began to beat his chest with electric charges to start his heart again. And Jeremy managed to do it. Mitch promised that he would help him escape from boarding school. Jeremy hid in a car with haystacks and drove it to the farm. He finally came home and went down to the basement. Soon Jesse arrived here and found the guy in a completely empty room. From here, they took everything that the young man once had. She promises Jeremy that if he goes with her, they will definitely come up with something. And Donald volunteered to help. But the conspirators did not have time to escape. The policeman came here. Jesse asks the sheriff to just turn away and let them escape. Thunder rumbled again. The sheriff took his partner aside and ordered him to get out of here. For some reason, Jeremy didn't get into Jesse's car. He told the sheriff that his wife hadn't gone anywhere. She everywhere. Powder ran into the field, arms outstretched, and lightning struck right at him. Jeremy ran and filled up with energy until he disappeared in a bright flash of light. A powerful impulse passed through people. The powder has become a part of everything, pure energy that no longer needs a human shell. This is where the film ends. If you were interested, subscribe and like